Welcome to Sports Live Media on YouTube. It's your guy, Sports Live. Today, December 22nd, 2025, we're going to discuss what is going on in college football and make picks for Week 17 games in the NFL. Week 17 in the NFL scheduled between December 21st, 4th through 30th, 2025. In college football, we will discuss bowl game results and mention who is set to play in bowl games from December 22nd through 27th of 2025. We already made bowl game predictions for all bowl games, so we need not to go over that again. We will also preview the college football playoff games, the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinal games will take place December 31st, 2025 and January 1st, 2026. In the quarterfinal games, we will do more in-depth analysis. In this analysis, we will go over the point spread or margin of victory as mentioned by Las Vegas pros. We will look also at what the pros say the over-under is. The point spread or margin of victory is what the pros believe the game in question will be won by. The over-under is the total combined points the pros believe will be scored by both teams in the game in question. If I agree or disagree with the pros, I will do the best I can to explain my reasoning. After we go through bowl games in terms of results and who is playing along with analysis of the quarterfinal matchups, we will look at football stuff from NCAA Division I, FCS, Division II, and Division III. Bowl game scores from December 16th through 20th are as follows. In the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl, Jacksonville State 17, Troy 13. Old Dominion 24, South Florida 10. In the Staff DNA Bowl. In the 68 Ventures Bowl, it was Delaware 20, Louisiana 13. The Xbox Bowl was Arkansas State 39, Missouri State 28. Western Michigan 41, Kennesaw 6. In the Myrtle Beach Bowl, NC State 31, Memphis 7. In the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. In first round playoff games, it'll be number 6 Ole Miss. It was number 6 Ole Miss 41, number 11 Tulane 10, number 10 Miami and Florida 10, number 7 Texas A&M 3. Number 9 Alabama 34, number 8 Oklahoma 24. The quarterfinal games for the Division I NCAA football playoffs will be December 31st and January 2026. Here are the matchups for quarterfinal action. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 10, Miami and Florida, as part of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, set to take place December 31st, 2025. The All-State Sugar Bowl for quarterfinal matchup, set to take place January 1st, 2026, will be number 3, Georgia versus number 6, Ole Miss. Another quarterfinal game will be the Rose Bowl presented by Prudential, January 1st, 2026, will feature number 9, Alabama versus number 1, Indiana. The final quarterfinal matchup will be number 5, Oregon versus number 4, Texas Tech in the Capital One Orange Bowl, set to take place also on January 1st, 2026. So for the quarterfinal matchups, let's dig a little deeper. In the Miami and Florida versus Ohio State game, the pros favor Ohio State to defeat Miami and Florida by 10 points. The over-under is 42.5 or 43. Ohio State has several common denominators. 34, where in 3 games resulting in wins, Ohio State in the wins scored 34 points. 9 is another one, where Ohio State held the opponents 3 times at only scoring 9 points. 10 shows up 3 times, while 2 times it was the points scored by opponents resulting in wins. The 3rd time was the loss to Indiana by scoring 10 points in that game. In that loss, Ohio State only scored 10 points. 42 shows up twice, where Ohio State won twice by scoring 42 points each. Ohio State usually has stellar offense, especially in passing. Rush is okay, but needs work. So average on that part. Defense has been above average most of the season, the exception being the hiccup of losing to Indiana. With the exception of, again, Indiana game, they have had excellent red zone protection, red zone line protection, the line and perimeter as well. Ohio State seems to struggle early but works through it quickly. For Miami and Florida, the main denominator is 7, which is the number of points opponents have scored 4 times in Miami or Florida winning the game. Miami and Florida is slightly above average in defense. They protect the line better and perimeter well. They do very good job on red zone protection. The only defensive issue I noticed with Florida is the slow reaction time to close holes as they open up on the field during live play. This will be the thing that causes Miami and Florida the most issue. I believe Ohio State looks better in this game over Miami and Florida. With these thoughts, I will agree with the pros on having Ohio State to win this game, but I disagree with the margin of victory. My thoughts are Ohio State wins the game by 5 over Miami and Florida. I will go over the 43. One other quarterfinal game, or one other first-round game that I failed to mention was number 5, Oregon 51, number 12, James Madison 32. Hello there, Carol. I appreciate you joining me today. Thank you for joining me today. It's greatly appreciated. The next quarterfinal matchup we're going to look at in terms of in-depth analysis is number 5, Oregon versus number 4, Texas Tech. In this game, the pros favor Oregon to defeat Texas Tech by 1.5 or 2 points overall. Normally too close to call. And that was the initial analysis, and I'm going to still go with that. But the pros have since flipped and changed to my direction on that, but I'll get into that. The over-under is 51.5 or 52. Texas Tech has several denominators. One is 7, which on 3 games this season was the points scored by opponents in which Texas Tech won. 14, the number of points opponents scored twice and Texas Tech beating them. 34, the total points scored twice by Texas Tech in winning games. Texas Tech has been stellar on defense this year and does a great job protecting the red zone, the line, and the perimeter. Offense, they are good in all areas, but better in rushing than in passing. Common denominator for Oregon is 7 and 14. 2 games each where Oregon won and opponents only scored 7 points or 14 points. On offense, it is near average due to lackluster rushing, but excellent in passing. Defense is average due to poor management of protecting red zone. That red zone leads to points scored a majority of the time. This has to be fixed, and hopefully it will. I believe due to how quick Texas Tech generally scores, it will be problematic for Oregon to do anything with it. For these reasons, I will completely disagree with the pros on this game. My prediction is that Texas Tech will win the game by 3 points over Oregon, and I will go over the 52. Since I put these notes together, the pros originally thought what they did, and they flipped and have Texas Tech now beating Oregon by 2. So my prediction is that they'll win by 3. I'm going over the 52. Hello to you, Carol. Hello, Peterbot. Hello, Granger. I appreciate that. I'm having trouble seeing some of you, so if I missed you, I apologize for that. All right, so the next game for analysis in the quarterfinals we will look at is number 1, Indiana versus number 9, Alabama. In this game, the pros favor Indiana to defeat Alabama by 7 points. The over-under is 48.5 or 49. Alabama barely got into the playoffs. The only reason they got in was they were runner-up at the Southeastern Conference Championship game over Georgia. That game showed the flaws in Alabama defense. They generally do not protect the red zone very well. Defense usually is strong, but for over half this season, it has been at best. Offense gets started late and has to come from behind to win games. That is not a good way to play if you're up against Indiana. Despite winning round 1 of the playoffs against Oklahoma, I will say offense is below average for the slow reasons I just discussed. The rush needs improvement. Passing needs some work. Alabama needs to stop dropping it and stop dropping so many passes and quit going 3 and out so many times and having to punt. If that struggle stays with Alabama, they will have a hard time winning. Special teams is blah. In not a good way right now. Indiana, there isn't much to say except they are doing stellar job this year in all areas of offense and defense. Not really much else to say in this game. I do think it will be a close game, and Indiana has the upper hand. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this game, Indiana will win the game over Alabama by 7 points. I will go over the 49. The last game we're going to do in-depth analysis on in the quarterfinal action will be number 3, Georgia versus number 6, Ole Miss. In this game, hang on, Miami is winning all day. Well, I think Miami has had some struggles and stuff, and Ohio State is decent, but I'm going to stick with my thoughts on that with Ohio State beating Miami. But, I am glad for your insight, and I do thank you for sharing that regarding, your insight about Miami. When I get done going over this analysis, we'll have a minute to where we can talk some other college football stuff, so bear with me, okay? Again, the last game we're going to look at on the quarterfinal action will be number 3, Georgia versus number 6, Ole Miss. In this game, the pros favor Georgia to defeat Ole Miss by 7 points. The over-under is 56.5 or 57. Ole Miss generally has not struggled, but the exception of the other time during the regular season that they played Georgia. Offense, generally speaking, is slightly above average with good ability to run and pass well. Defense is average due to lack of urgency to stop advancement of the ball. Georgia is average on both offense and defense. Not much else to say on this one. I believe this game will be a repeat of the last time, and for these reasons, I'm going to agree with the pros on this game. Georgia wins the game by 7 points. I'll go under the 37. We've already analyzed the other bowl games, so I will go over who is playing in the bowl games from December 22nd through 27th of 2025. On December 22nd, 2025, you have the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, which will be Washington State versus Utah State. On December 23rd, you have the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl, which will be Toledo versus Louisville. You'll have the New Orleans Bowl, which is Western Kentucky versus Southern Miss, and you have the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, which will be UNLV versus Ohio University. On Christmas Eve, you have the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, which will be California versus Hawaii. On December 26th, you'll have the Game Above Sports Bowl, which will be Central Michigan versus Northwestern State. You have the Rate Bowl, which will be New Mexico versus Minnesota. And then you'll have the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, Florida International versus UTSA. Those games are on December 26th. On December 27th, you'll have the Go Bowling Military Bowl, which will be Pittsburgh versus East Carolina. You have the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, which will be Penn State versus Clemson. You'll have the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, which will be UConn versus Army. The Pop-Tarts Bowl, which will be Georgia Tech versus BYU. The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, which will be Miami and Ohio versus Fresno State. You'll have the Isleta New Mexico Bowl, which will be North Texas versus San Diego State. You'll have the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, which will be Virginia versus Missouri. And you'll have the Kinder's Texas Bowl, LSU versus Houston. And those games are on December 27th of 2025. In NCAA Division I FCS semifinal action, Montana State 48, Montana 23, Illinois State 30, Villanova 14. The NCAA Division I FCS National Championship game will be Montana State versus Illinois State, and that is set to take place January 5th of 2026. The NCAA Football Division National Championship game for Division II had, Fair State 42, Harding University 21. In the NCAA College Football Division III semifinals, here are the scores. North Central Illinois 41, John Carroll 21, UW River Falls 48, John Hopkins 41. The NCAA Division III National Championship game between UW River Falls and North Central Illinois will take place January 4th, 2026. There was no game of intrigue due to playoffs and bowl games, and they're all arranged together. There's no new AP poll until all the bowl games and playoffs, including the national championship, have been played. So now, with that being said, we're going to move to the NFL side of things. NFL has several games this week, and what I'm going to do is I'll go over who's playing what day any other pertinent information, and what the pros say regarding who's going to win the game and the over/under, and then my thoughts on that. So, and we'll do it by day of game. So on Christmas Day, it looks like you will have, let's see, Dallas versus Washington. That's a noon kickoff on Christmas Day. The pros favor Dallas to win the game by 3 points. The over/under is 52.5 or 53. You have Detroit versus Minnesota. That's a 3:30 p.m. kickoff. In that game, the pros favor Detroit to win that game by 3.5 or 4 points. The over/under is 48.5 or 49. And then also on Christmas Day, you have Denver versus Kansas City. That's a 7:15 p.m. kickoff, and the pros favor Denver to win that game over Kansas City by 5.5 or 6 points. The over/under is 39.5 or 40. So for the games on Christmas Day, I'm going to disagree with the pros. They have Dallas favored to win over Washington by 3. I believe it'll be Washington wins the game by 2 over Dallas. And I'm going to go over the 53. For the Detroit-Minnesota game, I do agree with the pros on that game. I believe Detroit wins by 4 over Minnesota, and I'm going to go over the 49. Yeah. Next, you'll have Denver versus Kansas City. The pros favor Denver to defeat Kansas City. I do agree with that, but I do not think it's going to be by a 6-point margin. I think it's going to be a 3-point margin. So I have Denver beating Kansas City by 3, and I'm going over the 40. Next, you have 2 games on December 27th, 2025, 3:30 p.m. kickoff with Houston versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And in that game, the pros favor Houston to defeat the Los Angeles Chargers by 1.5 or 2 points. I agree with that. And the over/under is 39.5 or 40. I'm going to go over on that. Next, you have Baltimore versus Green Bay. That's a 7 p.m. kickoff. The pros favor Green Bay to defeat Baltimore by 2.5 or 3 points. I actually disagree with that. I think Baltimore is going to win over Green Bay by 4 points. And in the over/under, it's 47. I'm going to go under the 47. Yeah, Miami should do well, but I think Ohio State will beat Miami. I don't have Discord. I don't do Discord. So, sorry about that. I don't do Discord. And thank you, CC, for joining me. Thank you again to everyone else who's come in. Let's see. Oh, and also one other thing of note, when I mentioned game times in the NFL, that will be in Central Time. So you may need to check your local broadcast status to understand what time your broadcast will be if you're in a different time zone. So, let's see. On Sunday, December 28th, which is when the majority of the rest of the games will take place, you have Arizona versus Cincinnati, noon kickoff. The pros believe Cincinnati wins the game over Arizona. I agree with that, but I don't think it's going to be by 6 points. I think it'll be by 3 points. I will go under the 52 on that one because the over-under is 51.5 or 52. I'll go under the 52. Next, you have Pittsburgh versus Cleveland, noon kickoff. The pros have Pittsburgh winning that game by 4 points, 3.5 or 4 points, and the over-under is 35.5. I agree with the pros on that one. I will have Pittsburgh win over Cleveland by 4 points, and I'm going over the 36. Next, you have New Orleans versus Tennessee. In that game, it's a too close to call format, but they have New Orleans favored to beat Tennessee by 1.5 or 2 points, and I will agree with that. The over-under is 39.5 or 40. I will go over the 40. All right. Next, you have Jacksonville versus Indianapolis. That's a noon kickoff. The pros favor Jacksonville to win by 5.5 or 6 points over Indianapolis. I disagree with that. I think Indianapolis will win as an underdog by 3 points. The over-under is 44.5 or 45. I'm going under the 45. I don't believe both teams will score a lot of points. Next, you have Tampa Bay versus Miami. That's a noon kickoff. The pros favor Tampa Bay to defeat Miami by 3 points. And I will agree with that. I think that's a good call on that one. The over-under is 46.5 or 47, and I believe it'll be under that. Next, you have New England versus New York. Noon kickoff. In that game, they have New England favored as to win the game over New York Jets by 9.5 or 10 points. I do agree that New England wins the game, but I think it's going to be by 4 points that New England wins, not by 10. And I'm going to go over the 44.5 or 45. Next, you have Seattle versus Carolina. That's a noon kickoff. In that game, the pros favor Seattle to defeat Carolina by 7.5 or 8 points. I disagree with that partially. I think Seattle wins the game, but I think it'll be a 3-point win, not by 8, as the pros say. The over-under is 42.5 or 43, and I believe that'll be over on that one. Next, you have the New York Giants versus Las Vegas. That's a 3:05 p.m. kickoff time. In that game, you have the New York Giants favored to win over Las Vegas by 3. I agree with that. The over-under is 43.5 or 44, and I'm going to go over on that one. Next, you have Philadelphia versus Buffalo. And in that game, that's a 3:25 p.m. kickoff time. You have Buffalo favored to beat Philadelphia by 3 points. I completely disagree with that. I think Philadelphia will win the game by 3 points over Buffalo. The over-under is 46.5 or 47, and I'm going to go over the 47. Last game on Sunday, the 28th of December, is Chicago versus San Francisco. That'll be the Sunday night football game, 7:20 p.m. kickoff time. In that game, San Francisco is favored to defeat Chicago by 3 points. I agree with that. I think San Francisco is better than Chicago. The over-under is 50.5 or 51, and I'm going to go under the 51. All right, for Monday Night Football, you have Los Angeles Rams versus Atlanta. That's a 7:15 p.m. kickoff. And in that game, you have the Los Angeles Rams favored to defeat Atlanta by 8.5 or 9 points. The over-under is 48.5 or 49. I do believe Los Angeles Rams does win the game over Atlanta, but I do not think it's a 9-point game. I think it's a 5-point game, and I'm going to go over the 49. On in college football this week, and in the NFL football for this week. Anyway, those are my picks. Let me ask, why do you think Miami is so good? I think Ohio State beats Miami, but why do you think Miami's going to win that game? I mean, if you know something I don't, let me know what you think. I'm still going to stand by my original prediction, but why do you think Miami's going to beat Ohio, if you don't mind me asking? Well, anyway, if there's no other questions or comments, thank you for tuning in to this broadcast today. I do greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Just a word of note, we will be having our annual year-end review live stream that will take place on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, we will do that live. I'm not sure what time we will do that live stream yet, but basically we're going to look at the highlight of Sports Live Media and how things went on the channel from December 24th of 2024 through December 23rd of 2025. So that will be the year in review, and that will be on Wednesday, Christmas Eve. I do not know what time that will be yet, but it will be at some point on Christmas Eve. We're also going to continue to do the college football live stream with NFL notes, at least until the end of the bowl games. We will have a special live stream regarding the national championship game. That will be in January, of course, but I'm just going to go ahead and let you know. We will have additional sports action videos when they're able to do so. It's going to be very limited with it being the Christmas holiday coming up, but I will do the best I can with that. Looking ahead, there will be additional live streams that will be coming in January regarding actual live action stuff. Again, those dates and those things will be announced when it gets closer to time. We will have on Christmas Eve. We will have that. We will have that other. We have a hiatus of the hoops and pucks and Wednesdays. Oh my! And that's going to resume on New Year's Eve. In the morning. That will be a morning broadcast on New Year's Eve regarding the hoops and pucks and Wednesdays. Oh my, which will resume on New Year's Eve. There will be some other special broadcasts coming up, and I will let you know as soon as I know when those are. But anyway, thank you again for tuning in today. I do greatly appreciate it. If you wish to subscribe to the channel, there's two ways you can do it. One, you can go to www.youtube.com, the slash symbol, the at symbol, SPORTSLOV. You can also go on the YouTube search tab and type in Sportslov Media as two words, SPORTSLOV. First word, media, second word, MEDIA. You'll know it's me because I'll have Sportslov Media burned into a basketball as my avatar. I'm also on Twitter X, and my handle there is at BobAmin16. That is at BOBAMIN16. That is my handle on Twitter X. Anyway, if any of you have any other questions, and hello to you, Da. I appreciate you joining me today. For now, Sportslov Media will be signing out. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for